Scripting is kind of confusing, but once you break it down, it becomes a piece of cake. This is part 2 of our series. Let me introduce you to Roblox Data Types. What are data types? It's a label that tells the computer what kind of information a piece of data represents. We did this earlier when we were assigning strings and integers to a variable. There are 4 main data types: strings, numbers, booleans, and tables. Think of a string like a name tag. It's just text inside quotes. Strings are used for names and anything with words. Numbers in Lua are super flexible. You can use whole numbers like 10 or decimals like 3.5. These control things like health, speed, or damage. Anytime you see a stat changing in a game, like health dropping or a score going up, it's numbers doing the work. Booleans are like light switches. They can only be on, true, or off, false. We use them for conditions, like checking if a player is alive or if a door should be open. Booleans are great for making decisions in your scripts. Tables are like backpacks. They hold multiple things in one place. You can use them for lists, like an inventory, or detailed info, like player stats. Tables are one of the most important things in scripting. You'll use them for everything, from storing player stats to creating enemies. So now you know. Strings for text, numbers for math, Booleans for true-false, and tables for storing lots of stuff. Let's put them into action in our script. All right, let's take a deeper look at how we can bring together the concepts we've covered into a functional script. In this example, we're going to create a basic player profile, modify the inventory, and check whether the player is alive based on their health. Let's break this down. We begin by setting up the player's basic stats. We assign a name to the player, which in this case is NoobMaster404, and we set their health to 100 and their level to 1. To make sure everything is working, we print the player's details, name, health, and level. By printing these values, we can confirm that the player has been properly initialized. At this stage, you should see the output display the player's name, their starting health, and their level, all set to what we define. Here's a tip. We can actually click on the source of our output and it'll take us to the designated script. Next, we create an inventory for the player using a table. The reason we use a table here is that it allows us to store multiple items in one place. Initially, we put 3 items in the player's inventory: a sword, a shield, and a bow. To visualize this, we print the inventory, but remember that printing the table itself only shows the table reference. In the output, we can see something that looks like a down arrow. That's our table. Click that arrow and it will display all items within our inventory. Each object placed within a table has an index. The index for sword is 1, the index for shield is 2, and the index for bow is 3. To actually see the items in the inventory, we need to access each one individually using their index in the table. So, we print out the first, second, and third items from the inventory, and you should see the output show sword, shield, and bow. Additionally, we introduce a variable called isAlive, which we set to true, meaning the player is alive when the game starts. We then check whether the player is still alive based on their health. Using a simple if statement, we compare the player's health to see if it's greater than 0. If it is, we print that the player is alive and set the isAlive variable to true. If the health is 0 or below, we print that the player is dead and update isAlive to false. Finally, we print the player's status of isAlive. This final output gives us a complete snapshot of the player's profile, including their stats and whether they are alive or dead based on their health. And that's it. With this script, we've built a simple player profile system, modified an inventory using table indexes, and set up a health check to see if the player survives. Everything we've done so far is based on basic variables and tables, so this is just the beginning. Your next step is to experiment. Try changing the way the health system works, maybe by reducing health over time or when the player takes damage. You could also add more items to the inventory or create new variables to enhance the player's profile. This is all possible using just tables and simple variables. No models required. So go ahead, test it out, and see how much further you can take it.